So having seen a lot of data over the years and all kinds of campaigns and conversions and landing pages and offers and ads and keywords and all this stuff, there's something important that I do have to point out at this point. Click-through rate on your ads and the conversion rate on your landing pages is a fine balance that you have to, keep an eye on and keep in mind. As you're learning up until this point, as I've been hammering home how so much today of digital marketing is about that relevance and engagement. I keep hammering that home throughout this course. Relevance and engagement is now important more than ever. And especially when it comes to the AdWords, it's the former, the relevance part. It's making sure that if you're going to run an ad for a keyword, that the ad is very targeted to the keyword to get that high click-through rate, which is what they want. So they maximize that eCPM, like I just talked about when I was talking about how ad click-through rate is the king of AdWords in the previous lesson. And so that's what's really going to help them make the most money. But on the other side of things, they do want that ad to be relevant to the landing page to have that overall user experience to keep their users happy. Otherwise, just because their users, we're having a high click rate on ads that they see after they search for something, but if they then go to something unrelated and they're pissed and they bounce real quick off that page, they're not going to have much faith in Google for the results that they're showing, whether it's organic or ads. So obviously that comes into play here. So just pointing all this out, it's a fine balance that you have to keep an eye on and you have to use in your marketing to not only get the high click-through rate with AdWords in order to get all the benefits of having your ad shown more, and of course ultimately paying lower cost per click, along with the conversion rate of your landing page. So just to point this out, it's critical. An increase in Ad CTR can sometimes lower your landing page conversion. Now, if you kind of put your thinking cap on for a second, you think about, now why would that happen? Well, it would happen because if you're doing things just to really increase the click rate, increase the intrigue, if you're doing things, let's say, without a specific call to action, I'm going to get into these things coming up here. We're talking about writing ads and how you should write your ads and things to keep in mind for that, kind of a base formula for how to do it, balancing the benefits and features and a call to action. But if you don't have a call to action, let's say, that's telling them to go watch this video or go down this paper, white paper, go download, the special report, whatever. If you don't have that conversation going on that starts with the ad that then continues with the landing page, the overall conversion of the landing page, will suffer. If you're advertising a product in your ad and they click over to check out the product and they end up on a site or landing page that has maybe multiple products, not just the one that they looked at, again, it's going to hurt the conversion because the conversation doesn't have the tightest match. So there are some tricks and things you'll learn to do when you write new ads, split test new ideas that will increase your click-through rate, which is great, but you'll see it lowers your conversion. So the ad itself can really have an effect on the conversion. So it's a fine balancing act. When I get into talking about writing ads, I'll talk about in a lesson pre-qualifiers in ads, such as you can name the price of the product right in the ad, and that's going to cut out a lot of clickers that aren't at least willing to pay that price or at least willing to learn more about a product that is that price. Now, the more you pre-qualify, the lower the ad CTR is going to go because you're telling people, hey, don't click, unless you realize this is something for sale, or we'll talk about other examples of pre-qualifiers. But it's a fine balancing act because sometimes you do need to use the pre-qualifiers. You do want to lower CTR in order to optimize ROI. Everything that we do here with any money we spend to drive traffic is ROI, return on investment. We spend $1, we want to get back, more than $1. We want to make a profit. If we don't, then we have to re-examine whether we should continue to run that ad or to stop it completely and move on and look for other places where we can, derive profit for our business. Now, so just keep that in mind, that the click-through rate on your ads and the conversion on the other side on the landing page, they can go up and down, and they can vary based on kind of changes that are being made. And so, of course, you need to look out for this in your data and always keep a look, at your ROI. Now, I just said it's critical to keep an eye on your ROI for each ad group, so for all your ads and all of this, everything in AdWords, I have to stress this, everything is down to the keyword level. All the click-through rates and all the conversion rates and everything that we're doing with AdWords is down to each individual keyword. each individual keyword that creates X number of conversions after X number of clicks, that matters. Each individual keyword that produces however many sales of our product, or people asking for a quotation, or people wanting to get on the phone for a trial consult, which we can then upsell them into paid consulting on a regular basis, or life coaching, or whatever the business is that you're in and whatever your model is. It all comes down to that, and it all backs up from the money side in the business all the way back to a single keyword that's within an ad group. Maybe it's a broader match, that it's where could be the broad modifier match, because we're not going to do just the general broad match like I talked about. Maybe it's the phrase match, but that type of keyword matching actually covers many, many different keywords. Well, it could be some weird long tail keyword that produces X result. Anyway, we always have to keep an eye on all that, and things will change between the ad click-through rate and, of course, what it will end up producing once they get to our site as far as conversion. There is such a thing in direct marketing and direct response marketing, as really pre-qualifying a prospect. Like I talked about, adding those pre-qualifiers in ads. The more we typically pre-qualify someone before we give them the sales pitch or even show them a page with the offer, usually the higher they'll convert. However, in this AdWords world, because we know that Ad CTR is the most important thing, it's a fine balancing act, which I'm sure you're understanding now from this lesson. So I just needed to point that out. You can't panic if you do the things right that I'm going to teach you to do. That's going to increase your click-through rates on your ads. If you start to see your conversion rates dip a little bit, you can always roll things back and kind of go back to a previous ad that maybe didn't get quite as high click-through rates, but had kind of pre-qualified them a little better and created a higher conversion, which ultimately netted you more money, because that's what matters. What each keyword that's targeted, what its ads produce, profit or loss, is all that matters. So if it has to be done with a lower click-through rate to maximize profit, then so be it. Sometimes there will be an incentive to lower the click-through rate on the ad for us to make more profit. Usually that's not the case, but it does happen. Now, as I say here on the slide, sometimes a slightly lower conversion can net more profit with more traffic and the lower cost per click. So if you had increased your ad CTR, where Google is showing your ad more often amongst your competitors, and based on what you're bidding, if you're bidding around the same as your competitors, you're going to end up paying less, and they're going to show your ad more because your ad gets clicked on more. Well, you may have a higher click-through rate that then lowers the conversion rate, but because you're getting an increase in volume, an increase in clicks, and because you're now paying lower per click, the math can often work out in your favor, where even though that's the case, and even if your landing page conversion went lower, it still nets more profit than it did the other way around, with a higher conversion rate on your landing page and a lower CTR on your ad. So I don't mean to throw all these things at you for you to, have to worry about and everything, but AdWords and, of course, digital marketing, as you're learning, it's a little complex. It's not overly difficult or rocket science once you're learning these things and how it works, but you just have to keep an eye on cause and effect, money that you spend, and then whatever your return is, down to the granular level of every little thing that you can control, in order to know what to do more of and what to do less of. And that's really what it's going to come down to. We're going to do more of what makes us money, and we're going to do less of what doesn't make us money. It's that simple. So when we find areas where we find profit and we find positive returns, we're going to look to expand. When we find areas that just aren't quite doing it, the clicks are too expensive, the conversions aren't enough, whatever the case may be, we're going to move away from those types of things. So we are going to give, and I'm going to give you a methodology for it, we are going to give tests and things a fair chance to at least improve a little bit and see if we can get it towards break even and beyond into profitable territory. But if we give it a fair chance and we go through the normal motions and procedure and it's not bearing fruit, you move on. It's not an emotional decision. It's just critical thinking, and you're just being analytical, and you pause at least temporarily, and you move on to work on other things to try to squeeze profit from other areas. But that's something to keep in mind. The click-through rate on the ad side and the conversion rate on the landing page side is a fine balance that you have to keep an eye on, as well as you have to manage and work with.